Ellie,
Hi.
thanks for coming along.
Thanks for having us.
No, it's a pleasure. This is the first time we've had two people, so it's going to be different. I'm going to have to work out what I'm doing, where I'm looking. It might take a little bit longer, but that will be good because we're going to get two different perspectives, no doubt. First of all, if you both want to introduce yourself and just literally say what your role is with the police.
So I'm Ellie. I'm not a police officer, as we just sort of said.
Putting that out there straight away.
My job title is Youth Project and Engagement Coordinator.
Okay.
Covers quite a lot. A lot of it is in schools, supporting officers in schools, writing lessons, doing interventions, which we'll talk a bit about. Tonight. So it covers quite a large
I can
area.
imagine, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ellie.
Thanks, Ellie. I'm Kris. I'm a police officer seconded currently into the Bristol Youth Justice Service, which used to be the youth offending team. So that is my current role.
Yeah. Now, just to get it out here, because I was thinking that I was going to be chatting to Kris, and now we've got Ellie as well, which is going to be great, as I was saying earlier. But can you remember when we first met? Because I was trying to think about this earlier on.
I think it was when you were at Youth Moves.
That's right, yeah.
And we did, I think it was Lee Woods. Did we do it? Was it Lee Woods when we first met? Because you were doing
was it the team?
forestry sort of.
Forest school kind of stuff.
That sort of stuff. I certainly remember that.
Yeah.
And obviously we did a project at a secondary school together, didn't we?
Yeah. There was the summer programme as well at Bedminster Down.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did during the summer. Yeah, during the summer holidays.
And then the one you're on about is that's what I thought of, and I just remembered thinking that was good.
It was good.
That
was the first project that ended up going on. I was chatting to you about GAP earlier on.
Yeah.
It was the first social action project that happened in schools with us that it ended up growing into being this grassroots activators program, which we've been working on for quite a lot of years. It was with teenagers from Ashton Park.
That's right. Yeah.
That basically, for whatever reasons, they might have been on the verges of being kicked out, or they might have been struggling for different reasons. Mm-hmm. It was a real mixed bag.
Yeah.
And we supported them with lots of different things to bring them together, leadership style stuff, bits and pieces, fun games, getting them to come together, and then supported them to do something that made a difference to them.
Yeah. And
can you remember there was a kiddie in that group that his dad, I can't remember his name, but it's so long ago, his dad had passed away because through knife crime. And and he would never stay in the class. He was like, there was a few of them, because it was just, they want like, oh yeah, you have to stay. I was just like, look mate, if you can't be asked, then that's up to you. Do you know what I mean? You're going to miss out. Finally got the chat to him about why he kept walking out. And he'd said, because his dad had recently passed away. And I was like, they're all voting in there about what to do about social action. Put your flipping thing in there and say about that. Yeah. Long story short, they ended up developing a knife crime awareness, 5 different workshops.
That's right. Yeah.
And it was loads, and it was connected with you guys. And we had what was his name? The bloke, the crime commissioner, coming. Was it John Smith? Was it?
Yes, it
He
was.
come
It
in,
was.
you shared,
yeah, it was.
You shared your story. We had someone that was in gangs come and shared their story. We had the young people were delivering first aid sessions. There was stuff around talking about that young person talking about his experience. And there was different activities related to it, but basically it was 5 different workshops that they developed that they then delivered to other kids in that school.
It was a really good experience, man, wasn't it?
It was a cracker.
It was great.
And then COVID come.
And yes,
it
did.
changed.
It did. Yeah, we were on the verge. Yeah, doing some really good stuff there, weren't we?
Yeah. That was for us, because that you can imagine, like they already had pinpointed other young people in that school, and it quite easily we could have supported those young people that come up with those workshops to go to different places and deliver those things.
Well, I think what was important about that was it was their voice. They were in control of those. Yeah, it was great. It was a good experience. Remember.
Look at that warm glow. I thought a warm glow because it was a great experience.
It's true, absolutely is. Yeah.
So and to be honest with you, that was a really positive. That really was my first positive experience of working with the police with different projects. I've always done loads of stuff when you engage with police out and detached and various other programs, but that was a bit more connected.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying it because
Thank
you're here.
you.
That's why I wanted you to come along, because it was you. Mate.
Thank you.
It
Oh,
wasn't
thank
just
you.
the police, it was you. So
Well, thank you. It's really kind.
I'm not going to sit here and kiss your ass today, so that's your lot.
Thank you.
But what I'd like to do now, if it's okay, is just quickly ask you a little bit about what it was like growing up. So if I say to Kris to start with, just what was it like for you growing up?
Great. Yeah, I mean, I grew up in South Bristol, not too far from Victoria Park. I mean, we moved around a little bit, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah.
So, but primarily South Bristol, so sort of Whitchurch, Stockwood, Bedminster, which is predominantly where I grew up and sort of where my family base is from. And it was brilliant. I mean, I grew up in, I'm getting on a bit, Ben, do you know what I mean? So I grew up in the 1970s.
I'm holding back.
The 1970s and 1980s, where I felt, life felt, looking back, I mean, you know, was a lot simpler. You know, summer holidays, for example, you know, you get up at like 8:30, 9 o'clock, you go over to the park, play football, come back, have a bit of lunch, go back and play football. You know, it was just, I had a great childhood, I must say. I'm very, very fortunate.
Any challenges that you can think of growing up back in the day? It must have been a different world back then. I live in Bedminster now, and it's like in the 70s, it must have been slightly different.
Not. Do you know what? Not that I recall. I mean, I was, you know, I guess you look back and feel very lucky. It was a great place to live. You know, obviously Victoria Park, and still is a great space. Close to town, you know, as I got older, you know, it was quite easy to walk into town or whatever it would be. And I worked sort of fairly locally as well. In my first, you know, worked in the print industry when I left school. So it was kind of all on my doorstep. So, I loved it. It was great. And the community, you know, like I said, my generations of family lived in that particular area. So, it's a great place. Yeah.
I'd love to dig in a bit more to some of this, but I'm not going to do that right now. Ellie, what was it like for you growing up, and whereabouts? Challenges and positives?
Yeah, so I grew up in Montpellier, St Paul's.
Okay.
Went to Fairfield Grammar School.
Yeah.
Which wasn't a grammar school and is no longer there.
So it's not Fairfield School then, it's a different...
I think it's a primary school, but Fairfield moved to like... what is now Fairfield? What's the road?
Was it Monks Park?
No, not Monks Park.
Fairfield.
St Thomas More.
Yes,
and they
it was.
merged.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
So Fairfield is now on that road, Muller Road.
Yeah.
The old Fairfield was right up in
I
Montpellier.
just picture Fairfield School now. When you walk in, I've done a few things there in the past, and like the amount of different flags of the different nationalities that go there, like that school is diversity.
With the new one.
Yeah.
It's
a brilliant place, isn't it? Yeah, that hall, it's great.
Yeah. But that wasn't my school, but
Okay.
it was the original Fairfield.
Yeah.
School was much more of a social thing for me.
Yeah.
I wasn't there to learn much.
No, I know. I know the feeling.
Yeah. which is a shame really, but actually, you know, you get through it, don't you?
Is it a shame though? Because like, what role you've got into now?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guessing you got into this role based on. I mean, we'll find out later.
Yeah.
But there's going to be relationship building. That's going to be part of it.
Yeah.
And
so the social, that sort of side of it, like academic wise, I mean, I didn't get this through academics at all.
Yeah.
But it's more about those relationship building. And, you know, my mum still lives in the area, and I have a lot of love for that area. So, it's an interesting one. School was funny, but...
normally what I do when there's one person, I dig into all these things and get out all the goss, but I can't do it because it's two of you. So I'll let you off, unless you want to tell me about anything that's going to be really shocking.
No, I think we'll stay away from that. Yeah.
All right, we'll stay away from it. I mean, I think it's interesting times, isn't it? Like you, obviously, both grown up in Bristol. Just a quick one. Yeah. Did either of you go to any kind of youth provisions when you were growing up? Did they even exist? Were they there? Were they on your radar? I
played a bit like sport. I used to play for a cricket club.
Yeah. Which one? Bedminster?
Woodpecker, they were called, which were based in the Clanage.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Not long, but that's
what a place that is. That's where my kids are now.
Yeah, Clanage is brilliant. It's Bedminster Cricket Club. I think play there now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure Woodpecker's still going, but
it's definitely not called Woodpecker. I'd remember that.
Yeah, exactly. Used to do a little bit of boxing.
Yeah.
Over in Hartcliffe, the community centre.
Yeah.
Boys Brigade. Because
where was that? Was that Bedminster Down?
It was in St John's Lane, just off of there in a church.
Okay.
So yeah, it was part of that. So we used to play a bit of football within that. Yeah, so bits
Sport
and pieces.
Related,
But yeah, a lot of sport. I mean, Bristol City household. So yeah, we were there. I was there in the 1970s, Ben, when we were in the first
79, the
division.
glory days, when we went up and went bust.
Exactly.
I went down pretty quick.
In fact,
I was born.
I had a
that year, by the
conversation
way.
with somebody yesterday where we were at at Liverpool.
Okay.
Because that's my second team. But
Yeah.
I saw Bristol City beat Liverpool in the 1970s. And I'm trying to think was it Tom Ritchie scored? Anyway, but I remember those days fondly. So yeah, sat on the wall watching First Division football.
Yeah, those were the days.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully we see him again. I'm a season ticket holder, and we're doing well at the moment. But let's not digress.
No, exactly.
Did you go to any youth provisions or anything like that when you were growing up?
Do you know what? I didn't, and I think it was more because I wasn't sort of interested in that. The sort of stuff that we sort of made our own youth provision, and it was more about hanging out with each other at different places. I don't remember there being any, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
There was one sort of youth club at Sefton Park Youth Club, which is, I think, the school still.
Yeah.
Did I ever go there? I'm not sure that I did.
Interesting.
Nothing
right?
over here with
I'm
the
making
football
this is your point. Everyone's journey is different, and everyone's interests are different, and every area you live in.
Well, I would say actually, like Elli said, largely we made our own. We go down the park, or we go. We just on our bikes. In fact, where we grew up, there's a green which is no longer there now, and we play cricket on the green. Or we had a back lane where we grew up. I remember we used to have the Lane Olympics, which is always a little bit. Well, could be you'd have a
dodge the dog poo.
It's a broom. It's a broomstick for a jab. Do you know what I mean? And neighbours weren't always overly pleased because you're near their garages and their cars, but it was just the way. You were allowed. I felt allowed to be. Children is where I look back on it, and it was great.
Well, I
great
think
times.
that's probably going to be part of some of the stuff we talk about I don't want to push my kind of thoughts too much, but children being children is one thing, but children definitely seem like they have to grow up or grow up a lot earlier, and that innocent fun isn't necessarily part of the equation sometimes. But before we jump into that. Can one of you or both of you describe what is policing from your... Actually, both of you, because there's different perspectives, because you're not a police... What is policing? Quickly, not like an hour-long special.
That's a really good question. I'm trying to think of the way that I would perceive. I guess for me, it's about, I suppose, maintaining law and order, because there has to be that within society. For me, it's about communities, because my career, luckily, has been largely around sort of community policing. So I think it's about building bridges between, the police and the communities that we serve. And there's got to be that cohesion for it to work, I think. But I think back about my own childhood. We used to have a local bobby that everybody knew and respected and liked. And if you were up to no good, you were worried if he came up. There was a. I felt, for me, there was a respect between as children's kids between our local bobby. We respected that person.
I think we'll go on to that in a bit, because I can imagine that is going to connect with the next question. But it'd be interesting, what was your thoughts on what is policing, Elli?
Interestingly, like Kris said about the community building those relationships, I think the law and order stuff is an obvious one, but it wouldn't have popped into my head first. That's not my experience of it.
Yeah.
But about those building relationships, community engagement, trust, especially with our young people, because I think that's sort of fallen off. And where I grew up, it was a really diverse area, still is now, and I saw a lot of my friends treated really poorly by the police growing up, and I can understand why people have that about why people feel the way they do.
It's only your experiences, isn't it,
Yeah.
that you can base things on. You can
Yeah.
listen to other people, but if you're constantly getting stopped every 2 seconds,
Yeah.
then you're going to start questioning, well, what is it? Or maybe it is the colour of my skin. Maybe it is the community that I live in. Like, it's all things that all of us would
absolutely
end up thinking, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, so I wonder then as well. So the next question kind of fits in a bit with what you both said. So it'd be good to get both your thoughts on this. So, how do you think policing has changed over the years for the better, or maybe for the worse?
That's two really big questions, I suppose, in one. I suppose technology is always going to have. I'm talking from the point of view of a police officer. Having the technology makes the job easier.
Mm-hmm. In the
I'm
sense
not
that
sure-
there's less admin, less paperwork.
Do you know what? I think principally, I don't think it has. I know we were speaking before we started recording. I can only speak about myself in terms of the way that I've policed over the years and my own perception of what that looks like, and it doesn't feel that different to me because I don't feel that I'm different, if that makes sense. I mean, I've been, I've changed different. I've obviously done different roles within my time within the police, but it's a really difficult question because
I can let me put it to you in this way then. See, I get what you're saying, because we were saying, weren't we, off camera? It's about that relationship building and about respect and about how you kind of you come across to people and being honest and trust.
Yes,
which is all the things I kind of link with how I've felt with seeing you engage with young people in different settings. I can see that's part of your thing, and that's huge. But you must have a view of, and I'm not asking you to take out other people any names or anything, but over the years, you must have seen how things have changed slightly. It might be the training has changed. If the training hasn't changed for that amount of time, it needs to, because everything improves, doesn't it, by change. So there must be some things like with that.
And I'm not being evasive, I promise you. Is
he being evasive, Elli?
It's difficult for me to answer because obviously my current role is I'm seconded into the Youth Justice Service. So I guess to a degree, although I'm proudly still I'm a police officer seconded into working, but my work is quite different from I guess from a day-to-day police officer. So I'm not on the front line to be able to see what that feels like, if that makes sense, so I guess that's why that question is quite difficult for me. And as I said, I'm not answering it. I think
it goes back to what we were talking about before as well, about that transparency and the ability to be able to call people out on their behaviour. We talked about body-worn footage, body-worn cameras earlier on.
Well, that's a massive change, isn't it?
It's a huge change because you're aware, or should be aware, that everything, people have the right to see that. Do they have the right to see that?
Well, it's for the police, safety of the police, as well as the transparency of their actions and reactions as a
exactly. So actually, that goes back to your question about technology advancement. That's got to be a positive, hasn't it?
It has, and I wonder, because this is what I mean when you said a minute ago about, like the glory days. I don't know if you meant the glory days, but I feel like when I grew up, you had a local copper that you knew, and they lived in that community, and you probably knew their kids, and it was like, I used to get they used to go and knock on the door and tell me, go and get them off those bikes now, before I'll be up there in 10 minutes. So policing was slightly different, do you know what I mean? It's not that now, so things have changed.
That's what you hear from, that's what we hear from, or even on social media, you hear from the public that there aren't people on the streets. I don't know who my local police officer is. And like you said, there used to be that one person that walked down the street, knocked on the door, knew everyone's names.
So why is that?
I think it's probably capacity, resources, staffing, for sure, certainly in terms of neighbourhood teams. But a lot of my role is trying to get that back, encouraging those officers to be out not in the community, but in those schools, to build those relationships. But again, if you haven't got the staff, you can't do something with nothing.
Is it? Because, like I can only talk about my experience as a young person and as a youth worker engaging with police in lots of different settings. And I don't think there's not anything wrong with how the police are in person when they're engaging, but there aren't that many of them. Like, how many? I don't know who would be the better person to answer this, but in comparison to 10, 15, 20 years ago, I don't know. How many police were out in the communities, like every, I don't know, evening, in comparison to now? I don't know. How is that dramatically changed?
I wouldn't have a clue, Ben, if I'm honest with you. I mean,
It's got to be less, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't. That we can answer, but I think
it's that
like
visibility is not there. That's what it feels like, doesn't it? It feels like people are saying that we're not. I don't know where I can go if something's happening right now on the street. I think it used to be like that. Maybe.
Yeah. That's what I felt like it was
right,
like.
okay.
And to be honest with you, I felt like it was like that when I first got into youth work. So,
okay.
I mean, but then again, we're only talking about personal experiences. I wonder whether then, so what about the differences? So when you were in policing before, and it may connect with your role now, and I don't know how long ago you started doing that role, but the role of the PCSO, how do you think that impacts on policing in communities? Do you think that is a positive or not a negative, but things that could be improved? Because that's new, isn't it? We didn't grow up with PCSOs.
But that's a core role of the PCSO. Is community engagement.
Yeah, I think that post is about 20 years old, maybe just over 20 years.
Is it?
I think that PCSOs have been. I can speak as a neighbour beat manager, Bobby. That I managed PCSOs within that role, and they were fantastic. They bridged the gap. I wouldn't say, actually, I say bridge the gap. We worked alongside each other within the community that I work with, and I couldn't speak highly enough of those people that I work with, the PCSOs I work with, because like Ellie said, I think, I guess to a degree, they are the sort of face of neighbourhood policing to a degree. And I was very fortunate. The ones that I worked alongside were really, really, really good and very, very passionate about the area that they police. And I think that's key, especially with neighbourhood policing. And I speak of that from being a neighbourhood police officer. I think when you go into that type of role, you need to have the passion. As I said to you when we were off camera, I mean, I was lucky. I policed the area that I grew up, where I grew up, Bedminster and Southfield, and finding that passion for that area was really, really straightforward for me, because it's an area that I care passionately about, because it's where I'm from.
But that makes sense as well, don't it? Because you know the families, and you know that it's obviously not everyone, but like...
But I guess I'm a proud South Bristol person, and you kind of like to think you kind of understand the way that people think, so the way that you communicate. There's a, what's the word? I'm trying to think. There's an understanding,
yeah.
I think, because I know this area, so
should that be a part of? I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying off the top of my head. Should that be a part of recruitment? That some of those bobbies on the beat have to be from that community, because there is bits, isn't there, with diversity that you need to be like from similar backgrounds to people that live in those communities. I suppose that would be the same thing, right there. Do you know what I mean?
I think in the ideal world, I think in the ideal world that would be fantastic, because, like I said, I was lucky that I policed the area I grew up. It enabled me. I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, I think hopefully wherever I've policed, I've made a difference. But it just made it give me that a little bit of extra motivation, because you cared so much about the area that you were policing. Yeah. I'd like to think that people that go into neighbourhood policing, which I think is a real specialism, I genuinely believe that. You've got to be a certain type of police officer, because there's so many roles within the police that would suit that role, would suit that particular person because they're a personality. I've chosen a certain route because it kind of suits my personality and my passion, because I think fundamentally, if you're going to do this job, and you like you do in youth work, you have to be passionate about it. You have to have care, because you won't make a difference.
Well, people will feel, they will sense, as we were saying, that you don't give a...
Let's be honest, Ben, you know that young people, if they spot straight away if you're not genuine. They'll see it straight away. Yeah. So if you go into this type of role, whether that be youth work, whether that be police, but particularly I think within neighbourhood policing, it has to be genuine, and you have to have that genuine care for that community and wanting to make things better. Because I guess that goes back to how I see policing is. I joined the police because I care for people, and I genuinely always feel, and in this role I'm doing now, you can make a difference, and you've got to have that belief, because there's no point doing.
Well, otherwise you might as well give up.
Well, exactly, and I think you can. Sorry, I know I'm rambling, but
I mean, it's absolutely, it all kind of helps paint the picture. And Ellie, I'd put it to you. Look, we were chatting earlier on, weren't we, with both of us, and we were saying, because I feel like with PCSOs to some extent, and maybe police in general, but specifically PCSOs, when I was out on the street more, probably a few years ago, they're normally quite young. I've seen PCSOs in some tricky situations. I've even seen them out on their own. I didn't even know if that was a thing. I can tell you things kicking right off just up the road up here. Yeah. With one PCSO on his own, and they have to cop a lot of shit. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes. Yeah. And I stood there and I felt like with my other detached worker, youth worker, we were kind of there to support them a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Because it's difficult.
That's where that engagement comes in. So if they know the community and know the people, you've like you said about the respect, but it's really hard. Those people can't be on the streets all of the time, just doing community work and speaking to people. But it does help. Obviously, you've got. It
helps. But what I was going to say, the thing, and I don't know kind of what your thoughts are on this, but it's like young people. I would have known this as well. People that's like a bit switched on the streetwise, you just know, don't you? They know what a PCSO can do and can't do. And they take the right piss knowing what they can and can't do. And I just feel like sometimes I've been practically experienced it and seen it, that they know what a PCSO can and can't do. Yeah. And maybe their ages are normally a bit younger. They are at the brunt of this because there's maybe less kind of police that are out on the streets in general. The PCSOs, I think, they in some difficult situations.
It is. It's not a job I could do. I don't think I would.
I've hats off to them.
Seriously, absolutely, yeah. And there are a lot of PCSOs that have got many, many years and really love the job that they do. A lot of them go off and become police officers, and a lot of them say, actually, I want to do this, for the rest of my career, because it's something the community engagement and that sort of stuff they really love. But yeah, it is that knowing your community, understanding the people, having those relationships is all really important.
I think what's key within that role, though, and I think it's the same with a police officer, is being able to communicate and knowing how to speak to people, because you've sort of highlighted a situation where that PCSO was in a
there was like 50 odd kids. Someone just got a brick to the head, and we were literally just trying to kind of make sure that that wasn't kicking off. And how the hell was that PCSO? They knew what they can and couldn't do. Yeah, all right, they're on the radio. They're getting a load of shit. And to be honest, it was because of our relationship with a lot of those young people. We were just sound like what you're old school.
But you can. But
do you know what I mean? Because
you could because if you're a good communicator, even when that situation is volatile, you could talk people down from that situation, because especially like you said, if you know that community and people they know you, there's that respect there, which can take a number of years, but.
Well, someone knew someone else's mum, right? The other youth worker, and then it was it's like, right, I'm phoning so and so's nan. Then it was we taking the other girl off because we then got her on a bus to go to another family member in another part of the city. Just all this kind of stuff. You couldn't. Your hands would be tied as a police officer, but as a PCSO on your own, all I'm getting at is I feel like the whole kind of limitations and the cuts, the amount of coppers that are out there on the streets, all this kind of stuff. Like, people can look at what the police do and what they don't do. It's just a very difficult situation. That's what I suppose I'm getting at.
And do you know what? It's interesting because one of the things that, so on some of the training that I deliver to new PCSOs, one of the things that I always sort of say, and we know this happens, we've seen it, is that if you get in early enough, primary school, and you're chatting to these kids and they know your face and they know who you are, and then 5 years down the line you've got some massive kid who doesn't generally like the police, but you're all right because I've known you since I was 6, right? And so it's that relationship, and like you said, it takes a while to build those relationships, but they're invaluable if you can get in early. And I think that's the key with communities and young people and schools, is getting in earlier on.
Well, I agree. It's intervention all the way, and it must be really, really, really kind of challenging to know that from your point of view, to know that from our point of view, and to know that the reality is that whole thing needs to be funded. There needs to be a structure and a system that's in place that enables people to do that intervention, build those relationships before anything's happening. Things are still going to happen, but like you said, if you've got those multiple people, multi-agency, whatever, from different ways of working that have got those relationships, you're far better off, trying to kind of divert that young person into something else because of those connections and relationships. I don't know. I mean, what's your thought? How does that change? Because that I mean, I don't want to harp on about like the negativities, but that you brought it up, and I agree. Like, we do talk about this a lot, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
How does that change from the point of the police?
I mean, that's way above my pay grade. I don't know. It's who knows how. Money, isn't it? It's more people on the streets, but I don't know how that changes.
Can I ask a question? Is crime rising in Bristol? Like, in general?
I won't be able to. I don't know.
I should have done some research.
You should have. Yeah, you should.
I should have nailed you. Gone.
Yeah. I couldn't answer that. I don't know.
No. I mean, I don't know either. So there's no point in me kind of directing. But what I would say is that there's definitely changes with the crimes that are happening, and we're obviously all fully aware of more recently crimes happening, violent crimes happening. Like, I think that might have been part of the time. It was after that we started grassroots communities. We were doing lots of mentoring with young people involved in serious violent crime.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure since then, it feels like there's a lot more things that are becoming more aware by the general public, with recent murders up in Knoll, over in the other side of town, a few different things happening there. And maybe knife crime, the stats will say that is growing. Do you know what I mean? Now, what is it that we can do to support that? Because again, you guys, are at the sharp end of that in some ways, and so are we. And most importantly, the young people are.
Well, I mean, that's I guess a good subject to sort of talk about from mine and Elli's perspective, because we've kind of collectively been involved in trying to get the message out to young people with a variety of different programs around knife crime. I mean, we work on, and Elli will talk about it more than I will, but we currently work on a program together called Blunt Truth, which we devised back in, crikey, just
2019?
After, yeah, maybe just we were just after the pandemic, during COVID, we came up with it, because we basically worked on a program called the Insight program back in 2018, which we were given. I was given an article from our communications people of the Insight program with Merseyside Police, and I phoned Merseyside Police out to find out a little bit more about what that is, and can we borrow it. And to be fair to them, they were brilliant. They shared everything with us. But fundamentally, the Insight program was a week-long, 5-day program where we had 13 young people that were chosen by 2 schools, one in Bristol and one in North Somerset. And we had 7, I think, from Bristol School and 6 from the school in North Somerset. And they kind of like the young people we work with, Ben, where they were kind of maybe on the verge of exclusion, whatever reason they were chosen to do this program. And the program, we basically, they got to investigate a fictitious stabbing. We had a brilliant detective trainer that devised this program for us. So they came down to our headquarters on the Monday, got sworn as detectives, and they started, they got shown a video, and they then got into investigating this fictitious crime. And the second day, we were fortunate enough to go to Southmead Hospital, to the A&E department, because our DC trainer had a nurse who worked at A&E who was friends, and they set up, basically, the 13 young people were in reception, weren't they? Thought they were going to have like a guided tour of the trauma sort of department, or A&E, whatever you want to call it. And as they saw the video the day before, the victim, the actor, came in through the sort of glass doors, bandage, bit of tomato sauce on their leg. They're thinking, blimey, he's gone to reception. Oh, where was me? No, he was actually a very good actor. But the trauma team then basically came in and received him like they would a victim of a stabbing. And they got to see how a trauma team would work on a victim of knife crime. They then got a first aid lesson from the hospital, and we ended up, they got to meet with a friend like CSI, investigators, detectives. We had a Crown Court judge with us who spent the week with us, and he ended up presiding over a...
But that wasn't cheap.
I have to say he was brilliant. He was incredible. Gave up his time, and he presided over a mock trial at the UE courtroom. And it was just a brilliant week. But what we did is we revisited those groups, and we asked what they got out of it. And actually, I think 100% across all of these young people, they said, having done this, I wouldn't carry a knife. But one of the things that came out of it is that if I knew somebody was carrying a knife, I wouldn't tell anybody. I wouldn't. Snitches get stitches, I think, was a word that they used. Yeah. And we're thinking, a bit like you said about prevention, that program was great, but we want to prevent this stuff from happening.
You need to change culture.
And thinking,
but why do you carry? Because I'm scared that someone else is carrying.
Exactly that. And I mean, that's another big, obviously, social media. That we talk about childhood. That's a massive change.
It's everything. It's everything. Whether it be culturally, whether it be what you hear in the media, whether it be what you hear on Friends, whether what you hear on social media.
Yeah.
If you think someone else is carrying something, you're gonna carry something because you're shitting your pants, thinking if something kicked off, I'm gonna get it.
And this is fundamentally what the blunt truth is about. And I'll let Ellie explain what that is. I'll hand it to you. So
that, going back to the young people saying they wouldn't tell if any, we were like, well, there's a gap there again, going back to that prevention thing. And so we devised this program, which it's ended up being a 1 hour session. I think we went from a day to a half day, and how can we get it out to lots of people. And so it's kind of from a public health point of view. So we've got the relationships we built with Southmead, we've got those doctors and nurses, and it's broadly split between sort of the criminal side of things and the health side of things. And Kris and I have done, we've been into schools and we've done things about the criminal consequences of our knife crime, and we can shout all day long about this is going to happen. And actually, a lot of young people, it's not that frightening, the criminal consequences.
No, because if you're desensitised to it because of wherever you might be growing up, whatever you hear, the same things, what you see on media and TV.
Absolutely. And I think from a health perspective, it was a little bit more the realities of what might, the worst that can happen is when you get stabbed is you die, right? But there's all these things in between that. So, long-term injuries, not being able to walk, having to have a stoma bag. So all of these just explaining to the young people around what those consequences might be. And also talking to them a little bit about how to report anonymously, because that's a huge thing for young people. It's a real barrier to reporting. Snitches get stitches, you're frightened of reporting, all these things.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? If you're carrying something because you're basically scared to be out on the streets, are you really going to say something about what's someone else is doing? Because you're doing the same thing. Well, even if you're not, you're worried about the fear of if I'm in,
Yeah, but it's like you said, changing that culture. It's that whole thing of you getting in there early, and the statistics around, I always forget this, if you're carrying a weapon, what is it that he said to us?
Oh yeah,
50%.
It's like 48. I think it's like 48.9,
49%,
roughly
yeah.
50%. If you carry, you're basically 50% more likely to get involved in a violent altercation. That's the.
Well, yeah. If you get someone out,
Yeah.
It's
you
good.
don't.
Someone's gonna
It's
use
going to
it.
instigate something,
Yeah.
one way or the other.
Yeah.
And a lot of our NHS colleagues at work as well, they see people coming in who've been injured and by their own weapons. You know, that's huge as well. So the blunt truth is just about giving them the information, doing a bit of myth busting, talking about why they think young people carry weapons, the fear, the protection, all of that sort of stuff. And just
what
giving
ages?
them.
What ages is
So
this
we
one?
aim at year 8 and 9.
Okay.
So what's that? 13, 14, 15, 12.
Yeah.
We've gone older, haven't we?
We've gone older.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
It feels like the challenge for me, and the challenge has always been to some extent, is that you can go in and you can do one-off things that are going to be hard-hitting, that will make people at that moment think, bloody hell, didn't know that. Shock. What? Oh, do you know what I mean? Like, and especially if you do it right and you've been doing it over a period of time and you've slowly developed it and improved it and everything else.
Yeah.
It makes a difference. Did you say that you're constantly revisiting those same young people? Because that's the thing. Is actually
It's
like realistically, how can
No.
you tell if it's making a long-term difference?
Well, that's the thing is we prevention is really hard to evaluate, isn't it? Until and
well, unless you do longitudinal
exactly,
studies
yeah,
or
we have
whatever,
to-
and
do you know what? I always use this as an example in terms of prevention, but the high street that I used to cover as a community bobby, I know by me walking down that high street in uniform, I've probably have prevented crimes from happening. Can I prove it? Probably not on that particular. You may be able to prove it on if you were doing it on a regular basis. You may, but what I'm trying to say is because you're visible, I think that is that prevention. You know.
And I think you're right,
I think.
yeah.
Sorry.
I was just going to say that the evidence does show actually these one-off things don't really make an awful lot of difference in behaviour of young people, but it's almost having a nugget of information might be that thing that stops somebody picking up a weapon or might make them pick up the phone and do you know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah.
Listen, you're in a difficult situation, and I'm not saying that to kind of catch anyone out.
No.
We all know, don't we? The reality is, if you do
Yeah.
one-off sessions, that might make a difference. It's less likely to make a difference if it's long-term intervention, youth service. Police come in delivering similar things like that, and then the relationship's there.
Yeah.
Obviously, that we already know, don't we? Everyone that's been in and out of blooming prison, that's been in and out to the hospitals. We know what the things are. We're sticking plasters over this if we don't go back to having something where we can build those relationships over a long period of time with people that are embedded in communities, fully localised, and then be able to react as well to things that flare up. We know that. I guess the thing like with what the police are doing now, is it happening? Because Des has come on there, Des Brown, and done a chat, and I know he works a lot with the police. Is there a thing happening with the police at the moment where if someone gets stabbed, the police or a youth worker is there to be able to talk to them? Because we know, don't we, as well, if you actually are involved in those kind of situations, the time when change is most likely to happen is when you're at those points. You've just been nicked, or literally you've just been stabbed, you're in the hospital, and it's just like you're away from your normal kind of crowd. It's like, okay, you've got a little window of opportunity. Is that happening in Bristol?
It's like those A&E navigators, isn't it? I think
that
that's
kind of thing, yeah. Fred Bear, I done something a few years ago. It was happening in different places across the country, and they seemed amazing. The stuff they were doing about how they were being able to engage young people at the right time. Yeah. It's not the intervention that we all want, that I just said about, that would interlink with what you guys do and what you said. But at least it feels like you might really impact on those that are they're just so at a certain age range, they're so far away. There isn't the provisions out there. No. There's people got to survive. Limited opportunities, all those kind of obvious things. Then if people are involved in a certain world that are paying for a lifestyle, what's the chances of engaging them at that point for any of us.
Yeah.
Like it's impossible. So is there a lot of money being put into that?
I don't know about from a policing perspective. I'm not sure that that's something that I know the A&E Navigators thing is something that people are saying it works. It's proving that
It's evidence,
working.
proved it, yeah,
Evidence based. Whether or not we've got them in Bristol, I'm not sure. Like at Southmead, I don't know, but
I don't think we have. One of our detached workers actually from around here, Owen. He works in Southmead as well.
I think we'd know if we had the. I think we'd know if we had them in Southmead. Yeah.
I don't think we do. But the amount of when you chat to people in the communities, not just in South and all over, the things you hear about. There's more things obviously go on that you don't hear about that don't end up in fatalities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It feels like investment in that might make some kind of impact to those that are involved, engaged now, because without the intervention stuff, it does feel like it's you got to do something. Otherwise, sorry, I didn't mean it but do you know what I mean?
It's a collective though, isn't it? I mean, that's why.
But that's what I mean. They've employed youth workers in other parts that work with police that literally are based.
Yeah.
Just say up at Southmead.
Yeah, because the thing is, I mean, you're not going to be. I mean, it's a like you said, it's a big subject, and policing alone is not going to resolve it.
Part of the solution, isn't it?
We recognised very early on in the work that we were doing that actually the health aspect is where we had the most effect, because and we completely understand, like we said with the Blunt Truth workshop we know it's an hour long, and we're in a school for the entire day, which actually it's really positive, because what we do, what is different about what we deliver with that particular workshop is it's not us standing up in front of a group of children and lecturing at them. It's very interactive. We've got a really good film that we play, which forms part of the workshop, which then leads into small group discussions where we have a group of 6, and we'll have professionals. We're lucky we got a couple of brilliant people from Empire Fighting Chance that come in and help.
I had Martin Bispen there the other day.
He's a great,
but they're so relatable, aren't they? The young people.
Yeah,
to them, it's great having them.
It's people who walked in the same shoes, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what you want. That's what you need.
I agree. But I think what's really good is that we give the opportunity to those young people if they want to. I mean, we're not forcing anybody to have an opinion or to talk to us, but I think we're quite good at what we do in terms of encouraging these conversations. We get some brilliant conversations, really interesting conversations. And
because you've got those small groups, people are much more likely to sort of feel comfortable and safe having those conversations with us, not just us, with the NHS work as well. And they ask such amazing questions, and those doctors are able to answer the realities of, what does this look like?
And we've been so fortunate. I mean, the doctors we work with and staff from volunteer groups, but our focus on they're just the most fantastic people. And when they stand up in front, they wear their scrubs. They're speaking from real experience and passion. I mean, bearing in mind, the people they give up their days off to come and deliver this session.
Well,
that's
I'm not surprised because they're probably thinking if we could stop X amount of people coming in with the stuff they have to deal with.
In an ideal world, that's what we all want, isn't it, Ben?
Yeah.
You crikey, the last thing you want is is young people coming into that hospital and them having to do what they got to do. And I mean, it's you feel that we just want to at least try and do our little bit, and hopefully within the times we go into those schools for those whole days, if we even if we get like the split second where somebody's in that situation where they're contemplating picking up or whatever, they have that split second where they think, I'm not going to do that because I remember what could happen. I remember what Ellie said. I remember what Kris said. I remember what Tom, the doctor, said. Because I liken it because it's funny. When I was at school, junior school, in fact, this is a true story. We had British Rail come in when I was in year 4, whatever's year. What's it last year? Year 6 is it last year?
Yeah, primary
school.
Yeah, 6.
Primary school was year 4 when we finished. Yeah. And a chap came in from British Rail and he had a video called Robbie's Story.
Yeah.
And the video was about a lad he kicks a ball onto the railway track, and Robbie and it was based on a true story, is how I remember it. But he goes on the track to get his ball back, and the train basically runs over, cuts his legs off. Sorry to use that, and listen, I'm not
those
saying
were the days.
Yeah, I know, right?
No, it wasn't graphic like that.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is, we know that the shock tactics doesn't work, and it wasn't. But what I'm saying to you is, I remember that to this very day, that video.
So
I was probably quite careful with my football around around the railway. But the funny thing is literally when I was at Bobby in Bedminster, I saw this. I used to have a good. It's probably useful as a police officer, but good memory for faces. Yeah. I hadn't seen this bloke for like 30 years, whatever it would have been, and I thought, I know him, and it was that bloke who delivered that session. So
was it?
Honestly, genuinely, and what I'm trying to say is that in certain young people, even those one-off sessions will have some effect.
Some impact.
I totally agree with you. Obviously the work we did was over a period of weeks. Intervention's got to be over a long period of time for you to make a difference, because I know the most important thing for me working in the youth justice service is about relationship building, and that takes time. And and once you get to that level, when you've got that relationship, you can then start making a big difference, I think.
I think you're right, and it's just a situation that the system doesn't allow for that long-term. It maybe in some cases it does, but that long-term relationship building with those that have, for whatever reasons, and we all know that a lot of this stuff all starts generally with traumas and difficult situations growing up. So we already know generally who's going to be going in a certain direction by the age of 12.
Yeah.
So we can see that. We're not putting those interventions in, meaningful ones that are stemming that flow. It's never going to stop it completely. But then when you get to the situation, you can try doing the one-off stuff, can't you, with different people, and that might make a difference in some ways. It will.
And sometimes.
And then you've got others that are entrenched in whatever's going on, and they get involved, whether it's through fear or whether it's through whatever, trying to look a certain way, or it's the survival.
Yeah.
Lots of different reasons.
Absolutely.
But then once they're involved in it, and then they've ended up on that treadmill of being involved time after time, and maybe going in and out of prison, or being around people that, families that are, that's just life. It's like, how do you change things then? And it's just like, for me, the thing that doesn't, it's not easy, it is long-term relationship building. It's not just mentoring. I know there's a lot, mentoring can be huge, don't get me wrong, it can be huge. Yeah. But it's mentoring, it's the socialisation of supporting those young people into different avenues that isn't around the same crowd that they've been around doing that. But not only that, it's work, innit? Let's be honest, like we've all got an identity of what we do. When you go out to someone, you don't say, you normally say, what do you do? Don't you? And 9 times out of 10, people are going to say, oh, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a this. What are you going to say if, like, if you're not around the circles of criminality? And so say, what do you do? It's like, I don't know, I nick things, I'm a gangbanger. You're not going to... People want to say, don't they, things... And I think the key for me in trying to kind of divert young people that are already involved in this kind of stuff further down the line is supporting them into opportunities that are based on their interests and passions. Yeah. I'm not plugging GAP, but it could be a million other different programs that really, really have the time to support those young people to do that. The thing that I've seen happen with that, which is huge, is not only when you do that with people that are involved in that kind of world, that creates the role models that no longer really exist because of limited provisions in communities. Suddenly everyone else is seeing people, aren't they, that have been involved in stuff before and think, oh, well, if Karen or Barry or whoever can do that, why can't I do that? The trouble is, I think a lot of this stuff is known. I'm not saying anything that's unknown. Why isn't it happening?
I wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying. Genuinely, it is about giving young people.
We could do it tomorrow in a train-the-trainer model. That would mean that those different people that have already been through the program deliver that program to other people that are on the periphery or involved in this, that, and the other, and it ripples out. But the thing that holds all this stuff back is always money and then like the capacity, but the skills. But then you can build the skills from within the communities that you support, which is the ideal situation.
I've been lucky to work with people that have been on the other side of the fence, so to speak, where they've
got a few working for us.
But the thing is fundamentally that, you know, they've lived that. They've had those experiences, and actually people will listen. Powerful, and like you said, the thing is when you make a change and you can visibly see that difference, you like you said, you become a role model, because actually you can make a change. And I think fundamentally as well, from our perspective, the work, and I'm including us both in this, is particularly young people is that you have to believe that you can make a difference and that people can change, because people can.
Everyone 100%. Can change. There's no doubt.
I mean,
it ain't straightforward.
It's not. It's not. I mean, I'm making it sound really simple, because it isn't. Because that type of change takes a long time.
That's the thing, like 13 weeks of mentoring.
Yeah.
Sorry, not enough. Even like 6 months, maybe a year, might not be enough. But like the money that you put in there, if you value that person, saves a lot more financial value down the road. Because they have been diverted, and not only that, it's a lot more value for everyone else.
Absolutely.
Like
I feel
for
like
society.
it's something we all know, but then.
But that's the point. So at what point do we value people more than an economy that is like, you know, this world of numbers that come? It's like, do we really value people? Because if we do, we've got all the skills, I think. Do you know what I mean? We don't need a new axe. We just need to sharpen the flipping axe we got, invest in it, and then we could make some inroads into some of this stuff. And that's the thing. It's like, it sounds cheesy. Young people have got all the talent, but in many cases, limited opportunities. One of the only things that's holding that back is the system to support those young people over a period of time. So then, hopefully with the gap thing I'm talking about, is them realising jobs or courses that matter to them. That stuff is huge. But you can't just, it's like when I spoke to businesses quite a while ago, and we were trying to fund GAP, and we were getting businesses to sponsor individual young people. Some of those businesses were saying to me, oh yeah, but we've done loads of things in the past where we get young people from disadvantaged communities, disadvantaged, I don't know that word, but you know what I mean, communities, they don't last for longer than 2 minutes. I'm like, well, do you necessarily like appreciate where they're coming from, how they're getting to you, what they've had to deal with the night before, maybe getting their brother, sister ready for school, whatever might be going on, you know, like lots of different things. Just simple things like, okay, so if you're going to offer that opportunity for people from whatever, underserved communities, then maybe like even just having a mentor that supports them a little bit around feeling like they belong and, you know, and they're capable, even for that first 3 months. Because it's just too easy to say that we do this and we do that. But if it ain't working, you need to do something different. And I just think sometimes people that have got lived experience that work within this field, no different to you guys, you know, us and loads of others, I'm not sure, we kind of heard, but it doesn't result in, you know, the change all the time. But it does in other times. I'm going on a little bit. I get, you know, my soapbox grows every now and then when I listen to people that I don't care.
I think it's really interesting what you're saying, and I agree with what you're saying. I do. You got to be able to feel part of something to make a change. I think, you know,
you've got to be ready to jump at that moment as well. It's either intervention or it's two parts of the same coin, isn't it? Or reacting to the thing, but we need to do both.
But also we got to create the right opportunities for, you know, for young people. You know, because let's be honest, there's certain. The school, I mean, I'm going to maybe go on a bit of a tangent, but sometimes the school system doesn't work for certain young people. It's not going to work for everybody. It's not. So, you know, you got to think, well, actually, we need to make adjustments to that. What, like you said at the beginning.
Well, people need to stay in school for starters.
Because the thing is, if like me, I suppose, looking back, being a neighbour, Bobby, I was passionate about that. So if you're passionate about something, you're going to do it well, right? I've been fortunate enough to be able to sort of follow that path. I mean, lots of people aren't that fortunate. Maybe they are in jobs that they end up doing.
But they could be supported. That's the thing into that, and that's exactly
what do you want. Ask the question, and also there shouldn't be barriers. If you've got ambitions, just because you didn't get X, Y, or Z qualifications, that shouldn't be a barrier. It never felt like that. I like I said, I grew up in the 1970s, 1980s when I left school in mid. University wasn't a thing for me. It wasn't a pathway. I wouldn't say it wasn't a pathway.
Well, it wasn't on the radar.
Wasn't a consideration. It wasn't even something I thought about when I left school. I mean, I was fortunate enough to go into the print industry, which was fantastic, and there were those opportunities there.
So I would say, let me jump in there, Chris.
Yeah.
I would say that the thing, based on everything you said so far, is the thing that was probably different, that you had a family network around you that supported you and you were loved.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You were
absolutely
cared for.
100%.
So having that, if you don't have that at home,
yeah,
there are other ways of getting something which is similar, which is not the same. Obviously, you want everyone really to be living in that family home where they've got that.
Yeah.
If they haven't, you can have other support from other, trusted adults that might be able to support you. That's the point. That has to be in place.
Yes.
And then you're right. It's like, why kick someone out when they know? I mean, there was something that was just on TV the other day with Idris Elba, and there's the pros and cons with some of the stuff they were saying. But like the general theme of that is like, if you know that basically as soon as someone gets kicked out of school, that is the moment when 9 times out of 10 they're going to probably end up being more likely to be involved in crime.
Yeah.
Instead of that point kicking them out, that's the red flag.
Yeah. How
do we keep them in? And if this narrow education system that doesn't work for everyone and never has done, do you know what I mean, it hasn't really changed that much in 100 years, if we know that doesn't work for everyone, then there's plenty of other jobs and professions and things that people can do that don't fit in that system that might be an interest or a passion of some of those young people.
Yeah.
Why can't we tailor those opportunities? We could do, but it would just involve
takes work
capacity.
And it's money and it's capacity, isn't it? It's all the things that are too difficult.
But
tick the too difficult box. That's what it feels like, because nobody's.
Is it too difficult? I don't know enough about it. Like right up at the top of the tree, the Keir Starmers, the Lisa Nandys. Yes, you've got to balance the books and all that kind of stuff. I don't know much about economics, so I'm spouting out my bottom to some extent. But it's like there must be a way, and hopefully they are working on this now with this new youth strategy, where you just go, okay, we are literally just going to put this in place. Yeah. It might take 4-8 years for it really to show that it works or not work. Yeah. We might be voted out, well, it's the right thing to do. It might mean that there's not money going there. If the future of the country is young people,
totally agree. Absolutely,
we can keep spending money on like things that are happening now in the NHS and stuff like that. But
it's a big debate, isn't it? Yeah.
Sorry, we have gone off track.
But it
is, and it's all relevant, isn't it? To what we're talking about. That's where it starts. It's early intervention. It's the education systems and all these things that.
And that's the kind of thing, isn't it? It's the multi-agency stuff. We're all working together, and that definitely felt like. I mean, for me personally, I just don't have capacity to be at a lot of the different meetings. So a lot of these meetings probably still are happening. But for smaller organisations, you're not part of that conversation. That's no one's fault other than the system. So those things are happening. I think something I was going to ask you guys, and I don't know if you'll have experience of it. Or maybe you can recount other people's experiences, but it's like, what kind of situations? How does it feel as a police officer or someone that works with police in different settings when you come up against violent situations? Because I remember being at a course, and it was around youth violence, and I remember there was a copper on that course, and he was traumatised, man. He was absolutely and that really struck a chord with me. Like he was at the riots that went on in Bristol, and he was talking about the reality of that. And I just thought at that point, do you know what I mean? Like if people really think about having to live with, you're trying to help flipping people, keep everyone safe, and you're having to put up with the reality of feeling like you could be bloody God knows what could happen. Fatalities towards you.
Yeah.
Like PTSD, I don't know what goes on. I mean, that particular guy, I could feel it and see it, and I was just like, I don't know how you would deal with that. If you guys ever been in similar, it doesn't have to be at riots, but other situations, and how do you feel in that situation? Just so people out there, I don't understand.
I guess you sort of deal with it. I mean, you deal with it. I don't know whether you feel it is part of the job. You're going to. The thing is,
you can't just block it off. Because if you do, then it comes out in other ways.
But you can.
That's trauma,
because
and we know
actually,
all that,
because
don't we?
you know you're a human being, and
Yeah.
I always sort of say I've always said that being a police officer is a privilege, which it genuinely is, because you get to see a side of life that most people don't get to see, and some of that stuff that you deal with, some of that stuff that you're faced with is really, really difficult, and I think sometimes having an understanding of that and recognising that actually we're police officers, people, and you're not robots, and you get to see some things that are really difficult, are really sad, and yeah, there's going to be certain things, that will stay with you. I think I've been very lucky in terms of like the supervision I've got, the support you get with that, because if you go to a certain situation, I've always been lucky enough that you're able to sort of debrief that. You are offered support when you've obviously been involved in those really difficult situations, and I guess to a degree it can be just down to the individual. Like in any situation, if you feel you need that help, we are quite fortunate, I think, within the police that you can reach out and ask for it. As I said, I've been particularly sort of lucky in having really good supervisors. I mean, I've got a brilliant supervisor that I've got at the moment within the Youth Justice Service, who's just fantastic. So, for me, being able to talk about those situations helps. But then, those other things that you've been to, you like everybody else, you'll put them in a box, and you might not want to revisit that, but that's just the reality of policing. And I think actually people need to recognise it's a really, really difficult job, especially frontline policing. I mean, my role, I love doing what I do now. Could
you go back to it now?
But it might be different. At my age, maybe it would be quite.
No, man.
But what I would say is it makes you have complete respect for the people that do that day in, day out, because you're working early, late, and the hours can be difficult.
So it's socially for family and mates.
It's the best. Genuinely, I think it's the best job in the world, but people have to understand it's really a really difficult job. You have to face a lot of difficult things.
So let me jump in with that. And I don't know, we were chatting about Avon and Elli before. Kris, we were speaking about the documentary that was on the TV, and it was going to different forces. One of the forces is Avon and Somerset, and I was just saying from my point of view, you both said you didn't see it, did you? Do you remember
I think I saw one or two. I think the same one that you saw, I think.
That was it, and there was that. It was basically just like trying to look at through the lens of a police officer about what they have to deal with day to day, and there was certain elements that were on that really didn't shine a great light on the police. Some of the police officers, some brilliant, some not so good. Isn't that the world? Like some good, some not so good. But I guess we were talking about that off camera, and I'm only mentioning it because a lot of people might have seen it, and it's just like, that doesn't help, does it? When you know you're being filmed for something which is going to be aired. We were talking about that particular episode on the suspension bridge and how the person is being dealt with. What's your thoughts on that? How the police are perceived by people? Do you think it was a good thing that the police done those documentaries?
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't like to say whether it was a good thing. I think the idea behind it was about transparency. So, wasn't it? It was about being, this is what we do. This is how we behave. And like you said, with anything, you're going to get good people and bad people within any organisation. The fact that you've got a camera on and the fact that I think working for the police, you are held to a certain standard. You should be held to a certain standard.
Yeah.
I know there was a lot of mixed reviews around it. I don't want to go into what my personal opinions were on it, but
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
I just think it's about that transparency, really, isn't it? And I think that was a decision made, way at the top.
Well, I think it's
that's
great,
what
isn't it?
happened.
There's okay, we're going to do it, and whatever comes from it, we're going to have to deal with it, and
Yeah.
we're going to have to improve things. We're going to have to do it. I said off air. It feels to me like if you're in any kind of team, any team, you will know, won't you? Really, that there's some people that are going to be of certain kind of standard. They do things in a certain way, and some won't. I just wonder whether that, like, how that's kind of dealt with when you know of people that are just maybe a bit heavy-handed or not. I mean, you must have worked with people. You must have done, because that's just like normal. How is that dealt with? Is there like a? Because would you? I don't know. Grass up a colleague or something like that. I don't. Do you know what I mean? I bet you it's got to be the same kind of thing. You're in it together. It must be so difficult. I don't know how do people call out other people. Does it happen? I mean, that's part of the issue, isn't it? That they say it's institutional because it's probably us against the world because it's difficult what you'd have to do.
I think it's like you say, it's a really difficult job. I think would this be the right forum to have that conversation? I don't know. I'd like to think. I think you have to challenge behaviours that you don't feel is right.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, like we were talking off camera, is that I can only speak about the way that I've policed over the years that I've been a police officer, and what I recognise as I'm not saying that I'm this or I'm that, but what I've always said is that I've tried to be. If my mum had a situation where she had to call the police and the police officer knocked on their door, I'd like to think that the police officer knocks on their door is somebody like me. And that's not it don't come across as
treat
arrogant,
people in the right way.
Exactly
Respectful
that. And
all
I think the most important, and I think it is about recognising the responsibilities of this job, because when you're in that uniform, you're out in the public. You are there. People are watching. Particularly, I think that's meant. We had that conversation
in society in general.
More so than now. I mean, people have the phones.
Yeah.
So. But even before you had the body worn camera, before phones were, people had the videos on their phone. You should be able to conduct yourself in a professional manner. I always like to think that when I go in, when I finish my shift, that I've done things to the best of my ability, and you are going to have those. Let's be honest, we're all human beings. Everybody's going to have a day where I could have maybe. You're always going to reflect on stuff, because if you don't reflect on the way you've done stuff, then you're never learning. So you're not always going to get everything right. But fundamentally, if your ethics are right, then
if your team ethics are right as well, and the culture is right, do you know what I mean? That's it's individual and it's wider.
We all have a responsibility to call that out if it's not. So regardless of whoever that team is, whatever that team is, every single one of those people on that team should know right from wrong and has a responsibility to call out that behaviour if it's not.
Does that happen? Like, I'm just like. I mean, does it happen? You tell us about
whistleblowing policy, haven't we?
It would do.
Yeah.
And like you said, at the end of the day,
I bet it's more so now. It does as well, I would guess.
But it's you at the end of the day, you want to represent an organisation that you're proud of, and that means that you're representing all the within all of the community within Bristol, and. I am proud to work, and I'm not afraid to say that on the camera, work as a police officer. I'm proud to work for Avon and Somerset Police. I'm proud to be part of the youth justice service that I work with is a fantastic sort of thing. So I feel very fortunate. I've been quite lucky in the fact of the teams that I worked with, whether that be on response, whether that be in neighbourhood policing, have across the board been brilliant, you know, been very supportive of each other, because that is important, because, you know, the job that particularly response policing, you need the support of your colleagues, because there are things that you do and you deal with which are really challenging, which are really, really difficult.
That's why I said
but
before,
nonetheless, you still have to conduct yourself in the right way.
Well, otherwise, and that's kind of why I said before about the situations that police have to see. Because I watched that, and that's what we were talking about off camera. Watching that, some of those things, watching some of those things, and you kind of think, well, if you're putting up with the amount of crap that police have to put up with a lot of the times, I just think human nature, sometimes you're going to be having a bad day, sometimes you might be just like, push it. I said, honestly, you might be like, get in. Like one day, of course you shouldn't be doing that, but I kind of thinking about it like realistically, you can imagine how those things do kind of happen sometimes. So I was just in my head just trying to kind of be a bit realistic about the situation. But
I think you're saying
there's right from wrong.
But there is. But the thing is, I think that's what sets us apart, or should set you apart as a police officer, as opposed to. And listen, I'm no different than I'm no better than anybody. We do a job, but when you're in that moment when, you know, where you might have had a bad day, you might have had, you know, a little one was up all night, or whatever it may be. That is.
Can you get off? Can you get off your shift if you? I mean, I guess like any job, I suppose you could just say.
Well, I think you know, it's never happened to me where I felt I need to pull myself away because I think I'm going to
flip out on someone or whatever.
Because you should be able, even this is only me, I can only speak for myself. Even if you're having a difficult time or whatever's going on, is in that moment you have to be I know it's difficult. I know it's difficult, but especially now more than ever, you have to be professional. You have to, and it's easy for me. You know, I'm obviously I'm not on the front line, so you know, it's easy for me to. I'm not doing that. I've done that, and I know how difficult that job can be. So I have utter respect for the people that do it. I've sort of gone off at a bit of a tangent, but I think what I'm trying to say is you have to remain professional, and because
I agree. By the way, I'm not giving you a jail free card.
No, there's got to be. There's got to be accountability, because it's such a responsible job, and you know.
And you should be held to a standard.
Yeah, definitely to a standard.
Yes.
And I just think that, put it this way, the fact that they've done that, I think that actually it's a good thing that they've been open enough to do it, and then they look at making the changes. It's like, are those changes happening? I can't tell you that. I'm not going to ask that question now. But hopefully, you know, everything improves by people making mistakes and change things. So there's a way to improve things.
You'd like to think so, wouldn't you? Because you fundamentally, if you make a mistake,
that's how you learn.
You know, that's how you learn.
Yeah.
That's how we all learn. And it's at the sharp end of things, learning when you're on the front line. But you know, that's still that's life. That's humanity.
But like you say, that is exactly how you learn. That's how I learn to become a better police officer. But you know, you've got to reflect on things. You think, could I have done with that? Could I have dealt with that better? Could I have done this? Could I have done that?
And that's how you advise other people, you know, and support others.
Exactly.
And that's in supervisions and everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let me ask you a final question. Don't look so worried. Actually, maybe. Don't worry. I normally ask another question. I'm gonna mix it up today, because I just thought, could you both give me 3 things that you think that that are really the most important things? It doesn't matter whatever it is that comes into your head to keep communities safe. Now, what are those 3 things that you think, if like you had to package them up into those 3, what are they to keep our communities as safe as they can be?
Trust, I think, is huge, and I guess transparency as well comes in with that. Good engagement with communities. And support around those communities as well, from multi-agency support, not just us as the police. I think working together.
Yeah, wow. I agree with all
I
that.
definitely go with it. I mean, I'm not just. I'm glad you went first there.
If you don't you dare.
No. But I think
What
I think
Elli said.
What Elli said. Perfect. Well, that's great. I think visibility is making sure that you, from a police's perspective, we're seen within the communities. Because if you are, and then you're getting that communication right in terms of the way that you conduct yourself within the communities, that trust will come. It does. I know from experience that if you, particularly within the neighbour policing side of things, if you embed yourself within that community and you're visible and you're available, you're approachable, the trust builds. That's a natural thing. I think transparency is I think that's the right thing to do. I do. And I'm trying to think what other thing to help. I think like Elli said, I think one of the things we've learned from the projects we've been involved in, it is that it's not just down to the police, it's down to other agencies, but also actually fundamentally it's about working with the communities. So people that have a voice within the communities, the people that live in those communities, that's the most important voice, Ben, because I might police a particular area, but I might live in a different part of the city. So you've got to listen to their voices.
And finding those key people in communities who can speak out and have the confidence to do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes that creates bigger problems. I know what you mean. Like, because whoever shouts loudest, let's be honest, it happens in a lot of places.
Yeah, and that's not. Yeah, sometimes not. Maybe. Yeah. That.
But I do know what you mean.
Yeah.
It's getting voices heard, isn't it?
Yeah.
That actually matter.
Yeah.
Look, I think you guys are doing a great job. I know it's challenging times. It's challenging times for all of us. But the fact that that you're out there and you're still doing what you're doing in those situations is great. There's always things we can all learn from, all of us.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Good
Ben.
to meet you.
Having us. Nice to meet you. Thank you so much.
Good to see you again.
Love to see you, Ben.
Yeah.
Thank
Take
you so
care.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.